everyone, what's good? It's your boy JC. Welcome back to another speed editing video. Now I'm aware that I haven't done one of these in a while, and that's because I've been busy with school, and my personal life, and all that stuff. But now that it's summer, hopefully I'll have a lot more time to work on these, and hopefully I'll be able to get more out in the time that I have. So anyway, if you haven't seen the video title already, I am now doing commentary. I know a few people that have recommended commentary to me in the past, so if any of you are watching, this is for you. So from this point on, I'll be doing two versions for every video. One with commentary, of course from me, maybe from a few other people, who knows, and one without commentary, to ensure that everybody gets the best of both worlds. Now with that out of the way, let's get to the main event. So as of now, this is actually the 5th Octoling render that I've made. And, because I have quite a track record with making Octoling renders. The first one that I ever made was actually before Smash even released. I made it in August 2018. So around that time, Octo expansion was fairly new, and they had also just introduced the concept of Echo Fighters. So, of course, me being the massive Splatoon fan that I am, I wanted Octoling desperately as an Echo Fighter for Inkling at the time. So, when the Inkling Girl render leaked online, the first thing I did was I used it to make my own version of the Octoling render. And, it didn't turn out the greatest, but I think that's really funny, because back then I used to think it looked like something official from the game, and I used to show it to my friends and they would say the same thing. Looking back on it, it very obviously doesn't. It looks very fan-made, very, like, sloppy. But I still think it's really funny looking back on it that way. But, yeah, since then I've been making... Well, since then I made 4 more Octoling renders. I made the first one for YouTube, and, well, they've all been for YouTube, pretty much. But, yeah. I feel like I've gone back to Octolings for... or this much. Just because Octoling, aside from, like, maybe a few other characters, is definitely one of my most wanted for Smash. I've wanted them since Smash was announced, or since Smash Ultimate was announced, and, honestly, I'd be down for them to get included in the next Smash game, if there is even a next Smash game. Back then, I wanted Octoling to be an Echo Fighter, but honestly, thinking about it now, well, I wouldn't mind how they include Octoling, but I feel like there are 2 potential routes here. They could make Octoling an Echo Fighter or a semi-clone, or they could make Octoling a totally original character. If they do make Octoling an original character, one idea that I had actually was that they could give Octoling the Equipper from Octo Expansion. For those who don't know, in Octo Expansion you would go through like a bunch of different missions, and for every mission they would give you, well, Agent 8 would enter an Equipper, and like a little machine, and that would allow you to choose the weapon that you use for that mission. So in the context of Smash, I guess it could work something like Pokemon Trainer? Maybe you could have like a set amount of weapons and you could switch between those whenever you want in the match, and it would change their playstyle drastically. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe like a roller, a charger, umbrella? I don't know, just to throw ideas out there. But, no matter what they do, honestly, I'd be happy if they included Octoling in Smash, if there is a future installment. But, yeah. So, to dive a bit into the process of how I actually made this Octoling render, it's actually pretty interesting. So, I started making this render last February, and, back then I really only got the basics down. I posed her in Blender, using the Inkling Girl model from Smash Ultimate, which I'll get to in a bit, and I mapped out the shapes for the face, the hair, and the ears, and I gave texture to the face, but that was about as far as I'd gotten. In fact, the footage from earlier in this video was actually from 2022, up to the part where I started adding textures to her hair. The part where I started putting texture on her hair is from this year. But yeah, after I did all that, I just kind of started procrastinating a whole lot on this render, and, well, I procrastinated for an entire year, and I only came back to this render recently at the beginning of this summer because I wanted to get back into content creation. And I thought, what better way to do that than by finishing this render, you know? But yeah, back when I started, I used the Inkling Girl model from Smash Ultimate as my base, along with a few other assets from Splatoon 2, like her hair, tank, the Octoshot, etc. And I mainly used the Inkling Girl as my base instead of the Octoling model from Splatoon 2, primarily because the rigs from Splatoon 2 are extremely, like, they're beyond intricate. They are really complicated, and it just felt like more of an inconvenience to work with. The Smash models have much simpler rigs than the Splatoon 2 models, so I just decided to use that to save time and for the sake of my own convenience. That and also the Octoling models from Splatoon 2 are a little taller than the Inkling models from Smash Ultimate. Since in Splatoon 2 they made the Inklings taller, but they used the Splatoon 1 model for Smash Ultimate, which would mean that it's a little shorter. And since the Octolings matched up perfectly with the Inkling proportions in Splatoon 2, I decided to use Smash Ultimate in order to keep that consistency with their proportions. So while I was posing, actually, oh, just water. So while I was posing, I came up with a theme for this pose, actually, that I think fits really well. And that was to make her pose the opposite to the Inkling Girl. Sort of in a way that Fox and Falco are facing the opposite directions. So if you look at the Fox and Falco renders, Fox is facing left and his front is facing the screen, while Falco is facing right and his back is facing the screen. So if you put them together, it looks like they're almost going back to back, and it's pretty cool. So I wanted to achieve something, I guess, kind of in a similar vein to that with Octoling. And something that I noticed in Splatoon 2 is that a lot of the times they would just push the theme of, like, of Inklings and Octolings being the opposite, especially since Splatoon lore and the whole Splatfest and all that stuff. So that was a theme that I wanted to carry into this render, and I did so. Well, first before I go to the differences, if you look at the Inkling render, the Inkling render is very sort of energetic, I guess. It looks like she looks kind of aggressive, like she's poised, she's ready to fight. Her legs are bent, she's holding the splatter shot up, she's like smirking at the screen. So, to contrast, I made the Octoling girl stand a little more upright, her legs are less bent. She's holding the Octoshot downward, and her face is a lot less aggressive, which I think fits the opposites theme, but also fits how they behave sort of in Splatoon 2. Because if you look at certain, like, promo art and their animations from that game, the Octolings are depicted as much more, I guess, gentle, less aggressive than the Inklings. Like what's on screen right now. Most of the time, the Octoling girl will just be standing, not really doing anything super dynamic, like sliding on the floor or like holding her weapon up at someone. You know, just very basic, very basic poses. And also, their animations in Splatoon 2 are much more fluid, I guess, than the Inklings. Much more fluid, much more gentle. Like, their idle animations, I'm pretty sure, have them just looking around. So, you know, because they're entering this new world, they don't really know what to expect, so... Or at least that's the way I see it. So yeah, I also wanted to sort of communicate that in Smash Ultimate. But, yeah. Or in this render, I guess I should say. One thing that I did actually include in this render that deviates a bit from the source material, is that I made Agent 8 a lefty, which I think is an interesting change because in Splatoon, the player characters always hold their weapons in their right hand. Never in any of the games have they ever held a shooter in their left hand. So the reason I did that was, again, just to push the opposites theme. but also just because it's something that I thought would be really cool to do. That's honestly something that, like, that's just something that I do whenever I draw an Octoling, is that I always make them left-handed just to push that theme. That's honestly something I kind of wish they did in Splatoon, but at the same time I can understand why. Just for the sake of, like, consistency and being able to reuse assets. But I don't know, that's something that I added, personally, just to add a bit of extra flair to my pose. So yeah. Not much else to really say here. So going forward, I guess, with the channel, I'm not really sure, honestly. Let me think here. I can say that there is another video planned for soon. I'm not sure when it's gonna come out exactly, but I definitely have plans for it to come out during the summer. And it's not going to be another remake, I promise. So, if you like this content, well, yeah, just stay tuned for that. But anyway, there she is. Finished product in all of her glory. Hopefully this will be the last Octoling render I make for at least a few years. But anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then leave a like, share, and of course subscribe for more. I have a Discord server linked in the description, so if you want to hang out, why not join? And of course, follow me on my other social medias. See you all in the next one.